The family visit was anticipated as a normal occasion, but her father immediately sensed something was amiss. "Daughter, why did you arrive by taxi? Where is the Mercedes? What did we buy you for your anniversary?" he inquired with concern. Her husband replied with a touch of pride, "This is now my mother's car." A silence hung in the air. The father paused for a moment, and then his reaction exceeded all expectations. "Hello, dear listeners. I am pleased to welcome you to my channel. I present to you an interesting new story. Enjoy listening." Elena knew this evening would be challenging. She simply didn't feel the usual ease with which she'd previously arrived at her parents' for family dinners. That was gone. She stood by the entrance of her parents' 5-story building, paying the taxi driver, and saw her father peer out the window on the 3rd floor. He saw her, and his face contorted in surprise. When she went upstairs, the door was already wide open. Her father stood in the doorway, wiping his hands on a kitchen towel, apparently assisting her mother with cooking. "What did we buy you?" he asked, his brow furrowed as he examined her face. Elena hesitated, but then Maxim leaped out from behind her. Her husband always had a knack for appearing at the most inconvenient times, as if sensing when to display his peculiar logic. "And this is now my mother's car," he announced joyfully, not even noticing how Elena's father straightened up abruptly. "She has wanted a good car for so long, and Lena and I thought, why not give her a gift? Right, Lena?" Elena remained silent. Maxim continued to smile, clearly expecting approval. Her father stood motionless. His gaze slowly shifted from his son-in-law to his daughter, then back again. Her mother peeked out from the kitchen, wiping her hands with her apron, and froze, sensing the tension. "Come in," her father finally said. "Dinner is almost ready. It all began 3 months ago, on Elena's 30th birthday. Her parents gifted her a silver Mercedes, not new, but in excellent condition, only 5 years old. Her father had saved for a long time, even selling his old Niva to add to the money. Her mother had foregone a long-planned kitchen renovation. They wanted their daughter to drive a decent car, not Maxim's well-worn Lada, which constantly needed repairs. Elena had cried tears of joy then, hugged her parents and thanked them. Maxim had also rejoiced, slapped his father-in-law on the shoulder, and said it was an incredible gift, that they deeply appreciated such care. For the first 2 weeks, Elena drove the new car. Every day she commuted to her job at the bank, where she worked as a credit specialist, carried groceries from the supermarket, and took a trip out of town with a friend. Maxim occasionally asked for the keys, claiming he had errands to run. Elena didn't object. After all, they were family. Then, the strange occurrences began. Initially, Maxim started hinting that his mother, Iraida Sergeyevna, found it inconvenient to travel by bus, that her legs were bad, that she got tired. He suggested it would be wonderful if Elena could occasionally drive her mother-in-law to the clinic or the market. Elena drove her once, then a second time, then a third. Iraida Sergeyevna would sit in the front passenger seat, cast a critical glance around the interior, and begin to lament how the neighbor, Lyudka's son, had bought her a car. She, poor thing, had worked 2 jobs her entire life, and now she had to ask for rides. "I don't mind," Elena would say. "It's just that I have work, and I can't always adjust my schedule." Of course, Iraida Sergeyevna would nod. "She has her work, and my husband's mother has to rattle around on the bus." Maxim listened to these conversations in silence. In the evening, he would tell Elena, "Is it really that difficult for you to give my mother a ride sometimes? She's not young anymore." Iraida Sergeyevna was only not young in words. In reality, she was 58. She worked as a saleswoman in a grocery store, darted around like a whirlwind, and still managed to visit friends, play cards, and have arguments with neighbors over parking spaces. One day, Elena arrived home from work and saw the car was not in its usual spot. She called Maxim. He said his mother had asked him to drive to the Moscow region to visit relatives, and he had given her the keys. "How could you?" Elena exclaimed indignantly. "Maxim, this is my car. My parents gave it to me." "So what? We are family," he replied, surprised. "Or are you being stingy?" The word stingy entered their vocabulary. Every time Elena tried to object, Maxim accused her of greed, selfishness, and an inability to think of her loved ones. Iraida Sergeyevna returned late that evening, threw the keys on the table and said, "Nice little car, smooth ride. I haven't driven anything like it in a long time." Elena clenched her teeth and remained silent. Then it became regular. Maxim began taking the keys himself in the morning before Elena woke up. She would leave the house and discover the car was gone. She would call her husband. He would reply that his mother had asked him to take her to work or to the clinic or somewhere else. "I myself planned to take the car to work today, not the metro," Elena would say. "Well, then take the metro," Maxim would shrug. "What's the difference? It's harder for my mother than for you." One day, Elena tried to talk to Iraida Sergeyevna directly. She visited her one evening when Maxim was not home. "You see," she began cautiously, "I am very happy to help, but the car is mine. My parents gifted it to me. Perhaps you could give me advance notice when you need it." Iraida Sergeyevna looked at her as if Elena had suggested something unthinkable. "Are you really begrudging your husband's mother?" Her voice turned cold. "I raised Maxim alone my entire life. His father abandoned him when he was 3 years old. I gave him everything, absolutely everything. And now you come and set rules?" "I am not setting rules," Elena tried to object. You're just selfish, that's all." Iraida Sergeyevna cut her off. "I knew it. Modern girls only think about themselves." Elena left, slamming the door. A scandal erupted at home. Maxim shouted that she had insulted his mother, that he would not allow her to be treated that way, and that if Elena did not learn to respect her elders, he would reconsider their relationship. Reconsider our relationship. Elena couldn't believe her ears. Because of a car. Not because of the car, because of your attitude. They didn't speak for 3 days. Then Maxim came, hugged her, and said he understood everything, that his mother was just worried, that she really was tired. "Let's just let her use the car for a while," he suggested. "Maybe a month, maybe 2, and then we'll go back to how it was." Elena agreed because she loved him, because she didn't want scandals, because she believed that a month or 2 was not forever. A month turned into 2, 2 into 3. Iraida Sergeyevna began to treat the car as her own. She even made herself a duplicate set of keys. One day, Elena discovered that the insurance policy in the glove compartment listed Iraida Sergeyevna as an authorized driver. Maxim explained it by saying it was more convenient. "Mom drives a lot. What if something happens?" "Maxim, do you even understand what's happening?" Elena asked. "Oh, come on." He waved her off. "What difference does it make who's listed on the insurance?" Elena realized talking was useless. She called her parents, wanting to complain, but couldn't. She imagined how upset her father would be, how worried her mother would become. They had tried so hard, wanted so much to please her. And now? To say that her mother-in-law had appropriated their gift. She simply said that everything was fine, that the car was wonderful, that she was very pleased, but her father sensed something was wrong. He started calling more often, asking how things were, if she needed help. Elena answered evasively, trying to change the subject, and today, when her parents invited them for dinner, Maxim left for his mother's in the morning. Elena waited until the last moment, hoping he might return and give her a ride, but he didn't. He messaged her. "Mom asked me to go to IKEA with her to buy a new sofa. I'll be back late. You go to your parents. I'll join you later." Elena called a taxi and drove, thinking that she couldn't live like this anymore. The dinner was tense. Her mother had set the table, with her signature dishes that Elena had loved since childhood, but she had no appetite. Maxim chattered about how wonderfully he and his mother had gone shopping, what an excellent sofa they had chosen. "We got it on sale, imagine, a 40% discount," he beamed. Her father remained silent, slowly, thoughtfully, cutting his meat. Her mother tried to keep the conversation going, but it felt forced. Finally, her father put down his fork and looked at Maxim. "Listen, son-in-law," he said calmly. "Explain it to me. As a person with a technical education. We bought a car for our daughter, gave it to her for her anniversary. Correct?" "Well, yes," Maxim nodded, not understanding where his father-in-law was leading. "And whose car is it now?" "Well, Lena's." Maxim fidgeted in his chair. "Exactly, Lena's. Well, yes. So, in a way, it's a family car? No. Her father raised his hand. It's not a family car. We gave it to our daughter, personally to her, because she is our child. And we wanted her to drive a decent car. And now you're telling me the car belongs to your mother. Am I understanding correctly? Maxim turned pale. But you don't mind Iraida Sergeyevna using it too. She's not young. I'm 58. Maxim is 32. Her father continued, his voice even. If I'm calculating correctly, his mother is the same age as me. I go to work on the bus every day and I don't complain. So let's not have any of this nonsense about age. Dad, please don't, Elena said softly. But her father couldn't stop. He got up from the table, walked to the hallway, and returned with the car documents. Look, he placed the papers in front of Maxim. The owner is Elena, not you, not your mother. Elena. Therefore, the decision about who uses the car and when is hers. And if someone else takes the car without her consent constantly, then it's not a family matter. It's appropriation of someone else's property. Maxim jumped up. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining to you how it looks from the outside. Her father sat back down, clasping his hands on his chest. You're supposed to be a grown man, you should understand. Or does your dear mother know better how we should live in our family? Her mother quietly sniffled. Elena sat motionless, not knowing what to do. Lena, get ready, her father said. We're going to get your car. Where? Maxim exclaimed. To your mother's. Where is the car parked? Under her window. Let's go, Lena. Mom, you're coming with us too. The three of them went downstairs. Her father called a taxi. They drove in silence. Maxim stayed home, shouting something after them, but her father didn't even look back. Iraida Sergeyevna opened the door in a bathrobe, curlers in her hair. Seeing Elena with her parents, she tensed. What do you want? She asked with displeasure. The car keys, her father said. What keys? I don't understand what you're talking about. The Mercedes that you've been using for the past 3 months. Keys? This is my son's car now, Iraida Sergeyevna exclaimed. No. Her father pulled documents from his pocket. This is my daughter's car. Here are the documents. See the owner. Not your son, not you. Elena. So, keys on the table, and quickly. Iraida Sergeyevna tried to slam the door, but her father put his foot in it. Do you know what the charge is for misappropriation of property? He asked quietly. Let's not involve the police. Keys now. The mother-in-law darted further into the apartment, returned with the keys, and threw them in Elena's face. She barely managed to catch them. Do you think Maxim will forgive you for this? Iraida Sergeyevna shrieked. He'll leave you. You'll see. So be it, her father said calmly. Then he means more to you than we do. Let's go, Lena. They went downstairs. The car was parked by the entrance, dirty, with a dent on the rear bumper. Elena got behind the wheel, started the engine. Her hands trembled. Thank you, Dad, she whispered. Let's go home, her father said. To our place. You'll stay overnight, calm down, and tomorrow you'll decide what to do next. Elena nodded. They drove, she leading the way. Her parents followed in a taxi. On the road, she cried not from sorrow, but from relief. For the first time in 3 months, she felt like she could breathe. At her parents' home, she had some tea, took a shower, and lay down on her old childhood bed. Her phone buzzed incessantly with calls from Maxim. She didn't answer. The next morning, she returned to the apartment they rented with Maxim. He wasn't there, only a note on the table. You betrayed me and my mother. I'm moving in with her. Property division through the court. They had no property, only furniture from IKEA and old appliances. Elena packed her belongings and called her parents. Her father helped move everything to their place. You'll live with us until you find a proper place, he said. Elena nodded. She was 30 years old and she was returning to her parents' home. Her marriage was crumbling, but for some reason it didn't feel like the end of the world, rather the beginning of something new. Maxim called for another week, demanding the car back, accusing her of cruelty, then disappeared. A month later, she learned from mutual acquaintances that he had moved in with his mother, and now they were both living in her one-room apartment. Iraida Sergeyevna gave him no slack, forcing him to pay all the bills, buy her new clothes, and drive her to the market in his old Lada. Elena filed for divorce. Maxim did not appear at the hearing, sending a lawyer who stated that his client agreed to the divorce but demanded compensation for moral damages. The judge looked at him over her glasses and refused. 6 months later, Elena rented a small apartment near her parents, worked, drove her Mercedes, and met with friends. Iraida Sergeyevna once tried to intercept her at the entrance. She began to lament that Maxim had gone completely off the rails, that he had abandoned his old mother, that it was all Elena's fault. "Then he didn't love you that much," Elena replied, and drove away without looking back. One winter evening, she was driving her father home from the metro. He sat beside her, looking out the window, and suddenly said, "You know, I was thinking then about how to help you." There were two options: either talk to Maxim nicely or act decisively. I chose the latter because I realized you can't get through to people like that nicely. Elena smiled. "You did the right thing, Dad. I just didn't want my daughter to spend her whole life bending to other people's will. You grew up to live your own life, not to serve someone's mother." They stopped at a traffic light. An old Lada pulled up beside them. Maxim was driving. He saw Elena. Their eyes met. He looked tired, aged. Elena nodded at him and drove on when the light turned green.